Today, I will be preparing royal icing for the princess dress cookies I will decorate in our next episode. As I walk you through the process of mixing the pastel blue, green, purple, and yellow, I want to share with you some thoughts on life, making progress, and about starting, or rather stalling, my cookie business. So of the colors that I'm going to make today, I think I'm going to start with the blue. Pastel blue. Now this is definitely not a pastel blue. I would call this a robin's egg blue, so we're definitely going to need to lighten it up. Now I don't know if I'm going to end up having to use much in the way of food coloring because I've got a purple, a green, and a blue. I know for sure I'm going to need to use the food coloring to make my yellow because I don't have any leftover icing to use for the yellow. And for each one of my icings, I need to make a flood icing and a piping consistency. I'm gonna attempt to make the flood icing maybe like a 15-second flood. Although to be honest with you, I try to do the whole counting thing, but it never seems to work out quite exactly how I think it should. So I think as I work today, I am going to kind of do what I call a working vlog because I've been thinking about some stuff. So if you have ever seen any of my videos, you may have heard me use the term practice makes progress, which you've probably heard before in your life. In fact, I have a whole video called Practice Makes Progress because sometimes I have to remind myself of that. But while I was at work the other day, I don't want to put too much. As I was at work the other day, I was thinking about that term, practice makes progress. And I was realizing that when you make progress, you also gain momentum. Uh-oh. You better thin out, you better lighten up here, buddy. When you make progress, you move forward because it reminds you that you have the ability to actually do the thing that you're trying to do. And I think I'm going to make that a little bit darker, not too much though. I think the color's already fully developed on this because it's been in here, so I wouldn't expect that it would develop any further, but I don't want it too dark because these cookies are actually going to somebody that asked for them, and I don't want to disappoint. I'm a little nervous of it being too light. I'm not entirely sure I can talk and think at the same time. All right, I'm done with that one. When you're trying to learn something new or you're trying to achieve anything, you need the little wins in order to be able to move forward. And the only way to get the little wins is to make progress. And I realized that the other day when I was reflecting on what I've done with my YouTube channel so far. All right, let me first figure out if this is, hopefully this is a nice piping consistency, because if it's not, I'm going to cry. Helicopter. By the way, I have no clue what blue is in this blue. It is more than likely it's Anne Clark's Royal Blue, but it was made a couple of months ago, and I've had so many different variations of different things coming through here, so I don't know if it's the Chef Master Navy Blue or if it's my Anne Clark Royal Blue, which is in this little package here somewhere. Oh, it might be the Sky Blue. I'm thinking it's the sky blue. Usually I like to kind of tell you how it is I'm making the icing, but I clearly cannot keep track of what colors went into what with so many different bags left over in my freezer. Okay, so now I'm gonna add some water to try to get that 15-second flood that I can't seem to figure out how to properly count. So we're gonna add some water here. So the reason I was thinking about the progress propels, right? Practice makes progress, progress propels. That's what I came up with. And here I thought, oh my gosh, I just totally came up with something. And so I thought, oh, let me look it up and see if it's a thing already. While I don't necessarily think it's a thing already, I was able to see that there are Google entries that mention progress propels, and I thought, oh darn it, I was gonna start something. We just did our 4-month YouTube video checkup, so to speak. And we were talking about all of the things that basically me, the things that I have learned over these last 4 months, all the things that I've learned how to do and how worth it this is for me, even though as of today, we have 28 subscribers. When we did the video last week, we had 21. But that is 7 subscribers in 7 days. We didn't have that before. We've been on YouTube for 4.5 months now, and we have 28 subscribers. The first 8, I believe, are people I physically know. So that's 20 people that have decided, hey, maybe we want to see something else from you. And that is so cool. And that is progress. But how do you keep your sustained enjoyment and your go power of what it is that you're doing? I think this is still too very, very thick. Unless you have the little wins. And I get such joy out of the smallest things. And when I'm editing videos and I finish a video and I've used some new technique to make the videos a little bit more interesting. That looks pretty good. I sit back and I think, oh wow, this looks so cool. I'm so proud of this. And let me tell you. So in that video, the 7 things I've learned on YouTube since the first 4 months, or whatever it is it's called. Let's see, in 5 days, I will be officially pushing 50. So I will be 49 in 5 days. And so my brain does not always work to my advantage. I apologize for that. All right, so this guy, I'm gonna go ahead and put this little rubber band, tie band thingy around it. And it's basically just to let me know that this is my flood icing, because it would be very, very easy to not know the difference between these two if I were to attempt to know that tomorrow when I actually decorate these cookies. Man, talking about editing, I'm gonna have one heck of a time editing this video in a way that has any coherence whatsoever. One, I mentioned my brain doesn't always work because of my age, and that is just a symptom of my hormones plummeting off the face of the earth, and all women go through it. And so during this time where the estrogen decides to go, the brain literally just stops working sometimes. And that is a part of what is going on today. Another part of what is going on tonight is movie night. Now, if by chance you happen to have caught the video where I made the ice cream sandwiches, I was making them for movie night. And that's just when a few friends come over. I call them the kids because they're all way younger than I am. Some of them are like 22, 23, and then like 32 and 31, I think. And did I not just mention I am minutes essentially away from being 49? So they're like my kids to me, and they come over here because it's so wholesome here, or because I feed them, probably because I feed them. Anyway, they're coming over today, and that is in about 2 hours, and I knew I needed to get this icing prepped, which I probably could knock out fairly easily if I focused and I wasn't going to do the video. But I basically made an agreement with myself to do 2 videos a week, and I have done that so far. Sometimes I do even more than 2 videos a week. But to be able to put the amount of effort and time into it that needs to produce 2 videos a week, I need to make the icing with you so that I can keep my flow and kind of my structure where I kind of do a beginning. I basically do these kind of in a 3-part series, whether it's the beginning is the baking or the beginning is the making of the icing itself, then there's the icing prep, and then there's the decorating with the commentary. And if I didn't prep the icing today, then I can't decorate tomorrow, and then the day after that is Friday, because today is Wednesday. And Fridays are a nightmare for me because I work Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and so I do all of my cooking for all of our dinners on Friday. So Friday is out for any type of cookie decorating, YouTubing, anything like that beyond the first couple hours of the day. So I can't decorate cookies that day. So I am here doing the video, attempting to make icing at the same time. Hopefully that appeals to somebody. So let's keep going because I have less than an hour until my husband gets home. And I like to have all this done before he gets in because he does not prefer to be on video. And we'll do the purple. Now, it probably wasn't necessary for me to actually clean out the bowl from the blue as far as color goes before I made the purple icing, because there is blue and purple. But especially with my yakin over here, I didn't want to run the risk of any additional bits of dry icing. Dry icing! Bing, 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 bing. Do you see the light bulb come up over my head? What am I going to do with this video? So let's see if we can do purple at a reasonably similar color. I'm going to pull out that paper towel there. I will say I really do find that this process goes by so much quicker when I use icing that's already been colored. I mean, I already know that, okay, this is going to be very, very close to the tone of what I'm looking for. So it's unlikely that I'm going to have to do anything but add white icing to it so that, oh wow, I think we're pretty much there on this one. I think we were one and done on that one. I think I like that. I think that's good. Yep, I think that's probably pretty good for piping consistency. Oh no, there's some icing up in this part here. Prefer that not to happen because it can make little crusty bits all over your table when you're decorating if any of that gets out of there. So I'm gonna try to put my knot. Got a nice air bubble in there too. All right. I put the little extra bit in the knot so it's not gonna get all over my table. So when we were doing our update video, cameraman and I were basically talking about our first couple of videos, which are arguably horrible and boring. I don't know if they're arguably horrible and boring, but at the time of that recording, our recollection was that they were horrid and boring. And while I was on lunch this weekend at work, I decided to watch the first 2 videos. Oh my goodness. So he said we should do cringe reactions to these first 2 videos.
We should do a cringe video.
Oh, can we do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I want to do that. That's fun. We just grab old crappy footage and put it together and then react to it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Cameraman cringing, which is part of the reason I kind of wanted to watch them. Like, okay, are they as horrible as I remember? Well, at the time, I didn't think that they were horrible. And mind you, this was only 4.5 months ago. Actually, it was 5.5 months ago because we started doing the videos a month before we started uploading. So, but what I took from that is just how much progress we have made in less than 6 months. The videos are like night and day.
We're gonna make history.
We're gonna make history. I don't know. It's something. I have no idea how this is going to work. And I feel so accomplished from that. And that comes just from doing the reps. You know, this video here, I think, will be like number 46 or 47 of my long form videos. And my shorts all just come out of the long form. So, if you've got something that you're starting to do and you're feeling like I did in the icing irritations video, where I literally was like, I'm done. I am so done. And then slept on it and then came back the next day. I think we're good here. Came back the next day and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to scrap this whole thing. I'm going to keep pushing forward with a refreshed, I've slept and I'm in a little bit better headspace to be able to just take, okay, it is what it is. We'll just keep moving forward. And I'm so glad that I did, because if you just kind of give up and say, okay, I'm gonna start all over again, you don't get that amazing feeling of satisfaction that you get when you've pushed through something really difficult or really frustrating, or something where you just, it's not turning out the way that you envisioned, you become completely disillusioned, and you just want to call it quits altogether, or start again. But I think it's actually more important to just keep going, right? Let's sing the Dory song. Just keep swimming, right? For me, it's just keep icing. All right. 2 down. All right, so let's see if we have as much luck with the green icing as we have with the other icings, because those went fast. I am definitely gonna have more leftover icing than I thought, and that is awesome, because then I'll just put it right back into the freezer, and then it is available for me the next time I need to make icing. And I love it. You know what? I've got some white left over here. I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it because I do want to use white. See, I used white gel food color in my white icing, and I don't know how old this icing is. I've been doing the white gel color in the icing for a while, but it is possible that these icings were made before I started doing that. So I'm not gonna take any chances. I'm just gonna go ahead and use them and then make fresh white icing. And this is the last of the white icing in my freezer, so then I'll know from going forward, it definitely has gel color in it. Oh, I didn't think about that. I might have just messed myself up here. What I am concerned about is that this consistency is not as thick as the icing from my freezer, and I need to make my piping consistency first. So I'm gonna say that this probably is a little bit too loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some of this into it. I also mentioned in that video that we did for the recap of the last 4 months, I also mentioned that Kuny's Cookies is an actual business. Still hasn't happened. And I basically indicated that it's because I'm a big chicken. But why am I a big chicken? What is it that I'm really a big chicken because of? Hold on here, let's double check this. It wants to fall in on itself. It needs to be thicker. Darn it, I kind of messed myself up there with that. I think I'm gonna end up with more green than I'd like because I need to keep thickening it up. I think that's better. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's put the lid back on so I don't dry out here. So what is it I'm afraid of? I am not afraid of failing, that's for sure. I definitely have apprehension surrounding sales. And I think that, I mean, it definitely shows. Like if, you know, a little bit on the side here, somebody says, oh, how much for, you know, your cookies? And I'm, in this case, we're talking about drop cookies, like red velvet cookies and chocolate chip and things like that. And I'll tell them a price and I'll say, you know, whatever the price is, like the price, like, you know, let's say they're 70, which they're not, but like 70, which is ridiculous because I am so not that guy. And yet in this capacity, I'm totally that guy. So I definitely am not loving the idea of having to do sales in that way. So, you know, it got me thinking, what is it that I am looking, what is it I really want to do? What now that I am like sold and I'm like, I am doing this YouTube thing, right? And I know it's going to take years to get really anywhere with it. What is it that I'm looking to achieve in the long run? Because having the progress and feeling really accomplished is a huge driver for me. And so I know I want to keep going. And I love the fact that people are starting to react, like actually engage with the content. And that just makes me want to go even further. I'm not really a money-driven person, so the thought of money in the long run is not what drives me, though I definitely do want to have some income from this in the future. Because I do not have a retirement plan. So at some point I'm going to need to figure out how to sustain myself so I don't have to, not myself, but my husband and I, how we are going to sustain in the years to come, because do I really want to never be able to retire from a job that is working for somebody else? Well, at this particular point in time, I love what I do. I drive a forklift in a warehouse 3 days a week, 3/12. So, I mean, they're long days. And I go in, I do the job, I go home, and I love it. And then on my 4 days off, I'm still running my house, but then I'm doing the videos as well. And it got me thinking, like, what do I really want to achieve? Because I'm kind of like, you know, on the brakes about actually pulling the trigger full blown to do the cookie business. But it turns out I kind of figured out I don't really want exactly the cookie business that I thought that I did. So let me finish with this icing here, or it's going to dry out. And then I actually wrote this one down. So I'll share with you what it is that I wrote down. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Feel free to have an opinion. But this is what I came up with, and I think that it has provided some clarity for me. So let's check here. I think that's a nice green, maybe ever so slightly darker. Ever so slightly darker. Okay. I'm just gonna put the rest of this in. Hopefully it won't be too dark. I don't think it will. And again, these colors are already fully developed, so I can't imagine them getting any darker. I do not understand how any of that works. I am not an arts person. The fact that I'm doing anything at all with anything that requires an artistic anything is absolutely amazing, because not my wheelhouse, man. The art is in the making of the content, I think, more than anything else. Oh, it's a little bit, I think, as far as piping consistencies goes, it's gonna be a little bit on the loose side, so I'll have to remember that when I actually go to use it. So here is what I came up with while I'm working the other day. And again, I don't know how this would sound to somebody else, but this is being honest with myself. This is what I know that I can sustain. Partially because I've already been doing it to some degree with essentially no income coming from it, and still being able to grow in the process. So what I came to with is, I want to be able to make money without having to leave the house, but not be tied to a specific schedule or deadline based on someone else's expectations. To bring in enough money to have all our bills paid and 6 months worth of savings in the bank. So I don't know how that compares to the lofty goals of, you know, the people that want to have 1 million subscribers and the gold play button and the silver play button. I'm not even exactly sure how many play buttons there are. I just know I have a red one and it's a digital file and it goes on some of my YouTube thumbnails. That's all I have as far as that goes. But the key thing there is I want to be able to work on my own schedule. And in order to do that, I don't think that I will get to the point where I really want to do much in the way of any custom orders with the the cookies that are the decorated sugar cookies, which as of right this second, I'm not sure who would want to buy much in the way of the kind of decorating that I have been able to achieve so far. But I definitely have made progress, and I get a lot of joy out of that. And to be honest with you, I really enjoy eating the cookies as well. So I'm not even sure, like, if I make the cookies, if I'm going to want to let other people have them. But I think I came up with the thought that I may want to do this and do like pre-orders, pre-sales, where like I already know what it is I'm going to do for, let's say, Halloween. And I make some of those cookies and then I roll them out to whoever it is that there's a learning curve to all that as well, but figuring out who and rolling those things out and saying, hey, if you want to pre-order, you can order them by this date. This is how much they are, and there's a maximum amount that I can do, and go from there. And then I have, while I have a deadline and an expectation, it is a deadline and an expectation that I have made. So I feel very good about that, because doing the kind of cookie business that I thought that I would be doing, which is where people are requesting of me something that they want and that they have in their head that they want, I think that's too daunting for me. I think that there's too much, I would place too much expectation on myself, probably more than what somebody else would place on me, right? So I have some professionistic, wow, I've just come up with another word. Cameraman came up with professionals, and we are most definitely professionals. It's our new cool word. Spread it around. We are professionals. we're doing this thing. We're definitely not getting paid for it, so that makes us not eligible to be professionals for it, but hey, that's what we're doing. But perfectionistic. That is being perfectionistic in your profession or your profession. Anyways, I have a tendency to really drive myself hard to do things exactly the way that I think they need to be done. And so it's very likely that my expectations are much higher than what an average person would be looking to get from me. But that is not the kind of stress that I want to have. And I want to be able to stretch myself, but still work within the reasonableness of my abilities. I am going to attempt to make some yellow icing. We're gonna see how this is gonna come out, because I definitely know that I am going to be using my yellow, which is probably gonna turn it very, very eggy colored. And then I'm thinking I probably will need to add maybe a little tinge of orange and possibly a little bit of brown, but these things generally don't go exactly how I think they're going to. So let's get our yellow. I'm gonna grab the yellow. So I've got my Anne Clark lemon yellow. And then I'm going to probably use the pumpkin orange as well. So I'm gonna have it ready there just in case. And then if we need to, the mocha brown. Not entirely sure I'm gonna need the mocha brown, but this we have to be careful of because it can be it always makes me nervous, and I'm never prepared with my toothpicks. And every time well, I guess not, because I guess I don't need the toothpick. Anyway, I always start to put the little drop in there and then get all chickeny and go grab my toothpicks. And then sometimes I use the toothpick and it still manages to get everywhere. So let's see what this does, because I don't want it to be super, super bright. Yeah, definitely not gonna need more. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. Just hope it's not too bright. It's very eggy. Definitely has the feeling of caramels, and my favorite thing about family holidays, which are the deviled eggs, because my brother-in-law makes the best deviled eggs. They're doubled when they go into my mouth, because I never eat just one. The best deviled eggs, and they taste exactly the same way that my mom makes them. And outside of those two people, everybody else's deviled eggs I've ever had in my entire life were disgusting, and they add weird things to them. Yeah, so, I don't know. It seems very yellow. There's a little bit, I'm gonna add just a little bit more white, because I'm not entirely sure that that's not too bright. So I'm gonna tone it down just a little bit. Might end up with a lot of yellow again too, like that green I did. And this one is gonna develop, the color is gonna develop brighter on this one. So I'm thinking I need to tone it down some more. Because they say if you are at the color that you want when you're mixing it in the bowl, you've gone too far. I don't think I need to add anything else besides the yellow. I am really shocked. See, this never works out. Now, I hear other people talk about how they rarely ever use a color straight from the tube or the bottle, right? And that they always mix colors in with it. And I'm not finding that. So I don't know if that's just because like they've been decorating for so long that they're no longer satisfied with the colors, how they come out of the bottle. I am concerned about it developing too bright, because that seems to be comparable, equivalent pastel. I think I'm good with that, because even if it develops a shade or two darker, I think it'd still be okay. And I think we're good here for the piping. I didn't make it. He's here. I know, I'm almost done. I just have white to do. So every time I use this AmeriColor Bright White, for whatever reason, like it always dries out right at the top. So I always have to pull off the little crusty bit. And then this time I tipped it over and more crusty bit came out. I don't have that with the AmeriColor because it's got this little doot doot at the top and so nothing dries out. And the same thing with these things, they're so in there, like they never dry out. But this squeezy bottle does not play nice. So you gotta watch it. When you're using this kind of squeezy bottle, make sure that you don't get your crusty bits in your icing, because that's a crusty, like full-on gel crusty. So I never know how much white to put in my white icing because there's multiple reasons to put white in your white icing. It's a placeholder to kind of encourage the rest of your icings to not bleed their color into this one because the space has been taken up with the gel color here. It also does make it a brighter white. However, I don't think that most people would even notice that. It's very, very minor. And today's episode of Kuny's Cookie Chronicles has been brought to you by the letter P. Practice makes progress, progress propels. I hope to see you next time when we decorate our princess dress cookies.
Next time on Kuny's Cookie Chronicles.
This is the first episode of a 5-part decorating series called Princess Chronicles. Each episode, I walk you through the icing of 2 princess dress cookies. Today's cookie features pastel purple, and I offer you insight into what I've learned throughout the decorating process.